Are you woke?
Mm-hmm.
I should say,
I'm
are you
always
awake?
woke.
I don't have my green screen.
What a shame.
I like the green screen, but I wasn't able to use the green screen because of some, situations that I've been involved in
Oh no,
recently.
we gonna talk about that situation.
Yeah, we have to talk about the
Let's
situation. And you know what?
talk
I
about it.
I so just so the record, I have been
Yes.
trying to get you to talk about the elephant in the room or the situation.
Wrong. Wrong. What? No, no, ma'am.
It is
From the
true.
beginning, no. From the beginning, we have always said, let's not talk about it because people don't want to come and talk about it. And I
No,
thought to myself, I was just like, eventually we're going to have to because this thing affects both of our careers so massively that we're going to eventually
no.
have to talk about it. But we're just like, you know what? People want to escapism and they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to bring it up. You get online and people, like, even now with shows that are like having to address it, and they're just like, we didn't turn on This Is Us to talk about it.
I mean,
So
so
sad.
you said you didn't want to talk about it. I said we probably needed to talk about it. You were just like, no, people need to escape. And to be honest with you, when I was watching the shows and then they started talking about it, I was just like, we don't we don't really need to talk about it on the show. We're living it. Just like this whole like, is this like a recurring thing for us? We don't want to
What?
watch work. We don't want to watch our life on
We don't want to
television.
watch work sometimes. We don't.
We don't.
We don't.
But
We said
dag
that.
we got to talk about this here elephant.
You realize how late we are with talking about COVID? Like, I need you to understand, we are literally
Oh,
a year.
literally,
This is sad,
literally.
but we're going to talk about it.
Well, and
We're going to talk about it.
quite frankly, we're talking about it in a different, we're talking about it after. I think the problem was in the beginning, everybody was talking about it because everybody was trying to figure it out. And quite frankly, I remember putting out a blog post because there was so much information coming
Mm-hmm.
at you being the community, that it was just harder to decipher what should I believe? Should I wear a mask? Should I not wear a mask? Should I sneeze on people? Should I not sneeze on people? Should I be six feet
Okay,
apart?
pause for a second. You should never sneeze on people.
Ever.
You should never sneeze on people. That's not
You should
okay
never sneeze
for,
on people.
regardless of whether there's a pandemic or not. That's just not okay. Okay.
But I'm saying
Continue.
everybody was trying to figure out what am I supposed to do?
Hmm.
What was the hands?
I was
Like
telling you to continue.
is this a new thing? The hands?
I don't know. We're making this up. We're talking about something very stressful. Let me have my hands.
Have your hands. Like they're
Let me have my
I need
hands.
for
We're
you
talking about something stressful. Let me have my hands.
in post, I need for you to look at the hands because they're extra. Not
They are,
extra.
but so am I sometimes.
Okay.
So continue.
Sometimes. Sometimes.
You said we didn't want to talk about it.
We didn't want to talk
We
about it, but
did.
we need to
It
talk
was
about
hitting us in the face.
it. Yeah. But now it's one of those things where everybody realizes, not just the people who realized it last year, everybody realizes it's not going anywhere. Isn't that a song?
No, no. Does everybody
Wait,
realize that though? Like,
they need to.
I don't
Like,
think everybody does. Like, and I think honestly, it depends on the state that you live in. And people are just like, oh yeah,
mm,
this is around, or we need to deal with this elephant in the room, or we all need to be very mindful of. And then there are other states where you live in where people are just like, it's the flu. Y'all need to stop being so sensitive about this
it's the
flu.
flu in June. Now you're right. I think you're right. It's so funny. So just recently, I had to travel. With what I do, I go to different hospitals in different areas, different parts of the
Mm-hmm.
country. And I was recently in an area that is level really high, level 4, high COVID numbers. So the CDC recommends, and that place recommends, you have to get tested before you get there.
Mm-hmm.
They follow you every day. You get these texts where it's just like, "Hey, you good? You coughing? Can you taste your lemonade? Like every day you had to answer these questions. And then when you get back, quarantine, and then on the third day you have to get your COVID test. If you don't want to get a COVID
Hmm.
test, you can just quarantine 7 to 10 days. I forget. I think it's a full 10 days. And it's interesting because there were some people that were with me, and they were just like, "Oh, my state doesn't require that," but my state was just like, "It's the law." And it's funny how there's different rules everywhere, but you know,
Now, here's what's funny. Here's me with the devil's advocacy, because
mm,
people would say to you, people are gonna comment. Maybe, I don't know who watches this show. They may see the title and be like, "We're not gonna do this with you all today," and that's fine. But my question is, Doctor
no, I
Gina,
hate it when you do that. Hate it.
yeah, is it the law or is it just strongly requested?
So it depends. It depends.
Mm,
Every state has their own expectations, guidelines, requirements. It depends. It really does depend.
it
And it
does.
depends on even how you travel. I was
Hmm.
doing air travel. Where I went to, they were so gangster. They're like, you're not leaving the airport unless you show us a negative COVID test. And if not, then you get escorted to your quarantine space. And they had a lot of military presence. So, I mean, it
Yeah, see, because
depends.
I think where you went, they were very serious about it. There are other countries where like they were waiting outside of people's apartment buildings, like daring them, like I dare you to come out
I know. I
because we're on
dare you to
lockdown.
come on.
But I
I know
think
you.
there are certain parts we have to be honest about where we are. I remember seeing videos of people, walking into stores with no masks on and getting into whole physical altercations with
I know.
workers because the workers are trying to stop them. And at the end of the day, they're just like, well, technically it isn't a law that you can. It's just we are asking you to.
Yeah,
And
that's one
some
of
people are
those.
just like, no, I'm not going to do it, and they won't do it. And
Well, let me,
and and zombie apocalypse, right?
but let me tell you how I almost contributed to the zombie apocalypse today.
Mm-mm.
So really, so let me say this. When I was watching everything on television, just like everybody else,
Yes.
who was like-minded, uh, people were testing positive for COVID, and then they were escaping quarantine. And you're just like, what is wrong with you? Like, go back to the house. Like, what are you doing? You are. We Danita, we really have to stop calling it the zombie apocalypse. But I feel sometimes like that's what it is.
Okay.
But at any rate, you're spreading stuff, and people are just like, I don't want to be locked up, and just all of this craziness. That being said, I got home a couple of few days ago and came upstairs. We have a space where I can isolate, not just quarantine within the house, isolate because the people in my house didn't go anywhere. I did. And
Mm-hmm.
the plan was for me to isolate quarantine until I got tested and got the results back. And I promise you, at one point when breakfast was being made yesterday, I was just like, I wonder if they can find the sausage. Let me just run downstairs really quickly. I'll hold
Can
my
we
breath.
discuss? Can we discuss that 2 hours into quarantine, you were already at that point? I just want to discuss that because I have never in my life seen anybody suffer from cabin fever as quickly as you did when you got home.
Well, you
Like
don't have to
you
tell
were
everybody
two
that.
hours into that joint and you were just like, I gotta get out of this room. And that being said, you like you have some
I
pretty
follow the rules.
amazing no, you have some pretty amazing accommodations where you are. Like it wasn't like you were stuck in like a broom closet. Like
Oh
there's
no, it's
there was like
blessings.
Netflix and like a bathroom and
Full
like a
bath
whole
and deck.
windows, like comfortable places to sleep. Like
I
you were
know.
living it up, living your life like it's golden, as
Yeah.
Jill Scott would say. And
I'm
yet,
living it.
if we have to acknowledge the fact that it's just the idea
It is the
of not
idea.
being able to go is what is you were just like, I gotta go.
Yeah, because quite frankly, I don't usually when I come home from trips, I don't want to go anywhere. I've had to go someplace. I've been shuffled around in planes and in airports, and people can say what they want about flying. When you're a travel warrior, you don't want to go anywhere. You want to come to the house, sit, watch ratchet reality television, and be okay with life, at least for about
Or
24
not, but
hours.
okay. Yeah.
Um, well, we that's another episode, reality
We
television.
don't, we already did that episode,
Yeah.
but go ahead.
But that being said, I promise you, I sat down and literally like 2 hours in is when you found out. 1 hour in, I was just like, but what if I want some cashews? Like literally, I just realized I could not leave this space. And, I understand if you don't have willpower, if you don't understand the science, if you feel fine. And see, that's the other thing. I feel 900% fine, if that's
Hmm.
even a percentage. And so to say I'm quarantining against something that's invisible, I understand how the layperson is just like, no, I'm gonna run a Chick-fil-A real quick.
I do think it's interesting because you use the term like willpower, and I actually don't think that's it. Like, I think human beings are
Uh,
just where I don't. I think that human beings are a sociable people, even the introverts, because like people assumed that when the quarantine happened, that the
mhm.
introverts were going to be fine, and it's the extroverts that were going to be like scraping at their windows, trying to get out of the house. And eventually, everybody was scraping at their windows, right? And it was more so
Right.
because it's really just the idea of not being able to leave. Like it's not the fact that if you tell me, hey, let's meet at this place and I don't want to go, I'll be like, I don't want to go. But if you tell me
Right.
you can't leave, I'm just like, well,
That's a different type of language. No,
it's
I
like, wait
feel
a
you.
minute, like what do you mean I can't leave? Like, well, I can't go anywhere. And that's where the people, I think, when this whole thing started, people failed to realize how they were going to feel in a year when we
Mhm.
still in certain cities in certain states we still can't go anywhere. And so now we're shifting into that whole thing where people are just like, screw it, I'm gonna go, I don't care how I feel.
Yeah.
And then they sneeze on people in the middle of the store. So I think it's just people reaching their wits end. I just was tickled that your wits end was like 60 minutes.
So in my defense, I had just been stuck in an airplane, several airplanes for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, I'm not going to even try to make an excuse.
You
I
can't.
think
It's but it is because it was the idea of you,
it
and
was
that
just
is
the
what we have
idea.
to acknowledge. It was the idea of someone saying, you can't leave this room. And that's why people hate watching it on TV, is because like I remember I was looking at the comment section and people were just like, we don't want to see the people on the TV wearing the masks for this episode. And in my head, I'm just like, but y'all realize like these are still human actors. Like, these are
Yeah, I
still
mean,
human
and
beings that are having to act in a space where this thing is very real. So they have to write, COVID and quarantining into they have to write it in. Like people were so angry at This Is Us when it first came back on because it was a very prevalent part of the storyline. And it's funny to me because like you see like this episodes or you see scenes where like Sterling K. Brown's character is like having a FaceTime one of the other triplets or whatever, and somebody
Mhm.
else is having to like, wear a mask while they're talking to somebody else. And they're just like, we don't want to see this. This is what's happening in real life. I'm just like, but these actors are like legit in a space where they still have to do that. Like, unless you're going to
No, no, no,
pull.
no, 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 no. All the creatives, your whole field is lying. I believe that every day, no, I'm serious. I believe that every day before they walk onto the set, they get their nose jammed. They get the
Not
COVID
every day,
test.
and it depends on the production company. So you see there's one particular production company out of Atlanta, we won't say who,
Mm-mm.
that decided that they were going to film an entire season of their shows.
Okay.
So they tested all of the actors, production people, for
Mm-hmm.
that show or shows.
Mm-hmm.
They brought everybody onto the compound,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody was allowed to leave for like 3 weeks. And every 4 days, they tested the actors to make sure
Okay.
that they were still fine. That's the legitimate way to do it. Everybody can't
Yeah, I
do
mean,
that. Especially, and the only
The
reason,
NBA did it.
no. The only reason Atlanta could do that, or the only reason the NBA could do that, is because they could accommodate
Right, in the
the
bubble.
individuals. Like, right, in Hollywood and California, they just don't have the real estate to do that. Like, they don't, like, and nobody's trying to be away from their family for 3 weeks to film 13 episodes, of a show. And so what is the alternative? Yes, you're getting the tests done, but at the end of the day, you want to go home. And so what's the best way to do that is and this is how you know what different shows are allowing their actors to do that. The best way to go about it is to allow the actors to act. You get them tested, you make sure you're clean, you go home. But when you come back, this whole next set of scenes is going to be in a face mask, and you're going to be okay with it. So that's just how it has to happen. Either that, or we don't get television. And I think that's the thing that people, that's the only other alternative. You either let us write it in to the storyline, or you don't get it at all. Like, those are your options, and you don't want those options. You think about the socialization piece. You have people that are like super sociable, and they're used to seeing people that they know and waving and running up to them and hugging them. And that, of course, has changed very much. It is really some of the saddest things to me to see is a person having to withhold hugging, and they're a hugger. Aww. And you're just like, you feel bad, or people that are used to shaking hands, or, because that is how we used to greet each other. Even if you weren't a hugger, there was still some sort of physical contact, and that has changed. But it is one of those things where I think we as human beings, and I say that because this affects literally everybody, all walks of life. I think one of the things that we took for granted before this happened was our need to communicate and to touch and to be. We took it for granted because now we're just like. Like, can we get out? Can we leave? And it's just not happening. So watching it happen with you, granted, you were just quarantining. You weren't even like, this isn't because you had anything. You were just, doing what they requested strongly that you do. And you barely lasted the weekend.
You don't have to tell everybody that, but yeah, it was definitely more difficult. Let me tell you what. Let me tell you what was more difficult than I thought, but not as difficult as I think I expected. Is that dang blasted COVID test?
Mm-hmm.
So I think in my head, I thought that they were going to go a little past all the way to where the nasal septum ends. Like, I just thought that the insertion was going to be higher. So when the initial Q-tip went in, or the swab, and I was just like, oh, okay, that's not too high. What killed me was that scraping around.
So let's pause for a second, because we are not encouraging anybody at this point with the movements that you're making. You have just discouraged every single person watching this show to get it, and that's not what we're trying to do.
No. I'm not discouraging it. I'm just saying, I think I expected it to be worse than what it was, but it was still bad. Like, it was a different kind of bad.
Listen,
I understand.
Listen, I've seen people, some of my favorite social media people get like, they take selfie videos of them getting the COVID test. You could not convince me that they weren't like digging up into your brain. Like,
they're not digging in your brain.
That's what you say. And unfortunately for me, so we know, we've done the doctor parent, the doctor mom episode. Yeah, I have a child that is chronically ill. And so that test has to be taken often. And I am amazed at how amazing she is at that joint, because I'm looking at that thing and I'm just like, one day somebody's nose is going to start bleeding. Like, and I think it depends on the administrator. But it's the administrator, I think. I think it depends on the person that's doing it, because I've seen like some very gentle ones And then I've seen ones where I'm just like, are you cleaning the bottom of your mama's cast
Let me
iron
tell you
skillet? Like, what
something.
is going on with you in this Q-tip? Like, I don't understand. But
They,
it is not a fun. It's not fun. Now that being said,
mm,
I'm sure you would agree with me, Dr. Gina, that the alternative is less fun.
how about that?
Like, let's not be those people that's like, well, if I don't take the test, that means I won't know if I have it. Like, don't do that.
It's a you know
That's
how
not
doctors
what we
say
do.
it's a discomfort.
That lie that
It's
y'all
not
tell.
painful. It's a
That lie
discomfort,
that
doctor.
y'all tell. It's a
So
discomfort. It's a lie.
so you gonna get the vaccine?
I probably will.
Really?
I probably will, and you know why I say that? Because
Why?
we have young children. We have again a kid that is a severely immunocompromised. That even if she was of age, would still not be able to get it. And I am a believer in medicine, as people who are fans of this show know. I am a believer in medical intervention.
Mhm.
I have also, we are going to admit here on this here, with like not that much left time to explain, we're going to admit right here on Scrubs and Stage Light that our family, before the medical community was letting on what it was, had this thing before.
Let me tell you.
In
So
2019, before people admitted that it was a thing, my family had it. We had it. And that thing is no joke. I had it for about 2.5 weeks and I thought I was dying every single day. And if I can get to a point where not only have I not experienced that again, but make sure that the people around me don't experience it, then I'm willing. Because one of the things I think that people misunderstand is that they think that this vaccination has just like got made up within the last year.
so let me say this. They have been working on the template of the vaccine. Not
Right, for a
necessarily the
while.
COVID-19. Yeah, the
Right.
mRNA. They have been working on that template. So when they said, "Hey, let's use this template," and then just fill in specifically for this particular virus, they
Like
were
how
able to
some of
do
y'all
so.
do with your research papers or resumes online. Don't lie, y'all do it.
You got the
You go
template. Let me
online,
fill this
you
in.
pull the template down, and then you fill in the information. That's lit. That's
Yeah.
legit what the medical community did with this thing. They filled in the information, and so that is kind of like how I looked at it. I have not I was not the person that was and I can conspiracy theory. I screwed that up.
Yeah,
I can
we are,
conspiracy theory with the best of them.
but
She
we're not going
knows.
to do that today.
No, no, no,
Mm-hmm.
no. I'm saying I can. So when you're
Right.
talking to the person that is the best at conspiracy theories, saying, no, I'm going to go ahead and do it, then I when it's my turn, because I'm also a believer in the fact that I think it is necessary that the people that need it, like our medical professionals, our teachers, our seniors, that absolutely need it first, I'm not going to put myself in that line until it is my turn,
Right.
because I'm a believer in those people having it too. But yeah, I went through the whole thing of like, well, no, I'm not gonna get it until, like how I do my phone. Like, I'm gonna wait on that download until y'all tell me whether or not y'all y'all crashed y'all's contacts. I think medicine is different because, like I said, I've been there. It's not fun. So whatever we have to do, and our 5 out of the 6 people that live in our house had it, and it went from like passing out to hospital visits. It'll break your heart watching your kid crawl to the bathroom because they have no muscle, strength in their legs. Like that joint, it's not. I don't think it's fair to play Russian roulette with other people's lives. So if I can be a responsible citizen, and do my due diligence in that, then that's what I'm going to do.
I'm proud of you. So for me in
Ta-da.
healthcare, I mean, it's like a
You have to. You
it is
have to.
strongly encouraged for sure. Well, I mean, but then you have to think about it. I too had the symptoms in February of 2020, and I remember laying in the bed at a hotel about to
Mm-hmm.
go leave the country, laying in the bed thinking, I just need an IV, and I just couldn't understand why. I felt like I needed an EKG because it just felt like somebody kept tightening a band across my chest,
Mm.
and I couldn't fill up my lungs all the way. I was trying to take deep breaths. It was just like a now, granted, this is February, and I'm just like, oh, I probably don't have anybody's COVID or whatever. I did wear a mask on that trip,
Which again,
but
this was at like the very beginning, at which I want to like stress is that we had ours in that weird time between like December and February where the country was still being told, no shade on
it
anybody,
wasn't
but the country was still
there.
being
Right? They
told
didn't understand.
it's not, you're fine, everybody's fine, nobody's dying, everybody's fine. And now we're realizing that that thing, one of the reasons why it went so quickly everywhere was because of the misunderstanding of what it was that we were dealing with.
The lack of
And yeah,
understanding. No, I
I
agree.
remember like one of my kids having to go to the emergency room. You were there.
Yeah.
Because they passed out. And I remember thinking in my head, even the doctors were just like, I mean, maybe he's dehydrated. And I was just like, I don't think that's what it
But he
was. Like,
looked bad. But the day before, I remember looking at him thinking, he doesn't look well. I didn't know that he was
no,
running quasi fevers. And, he's a teenager, so teenagers aren't going to necessarily say all of the symptoms and things that they have. But
I
you're
should have
right. I
known.
mean,
He went to bed early that night. He went
mhm.
to my oldest son. He went to bed early, and that should have been a clue. In the meantime, we're watching everybody else like drop like flies literally
Like
around us,
flies.
and and nobody could figure out what was going on. We're just like, what is this that is going through? We were at a huge family get together for Christmas. Again, this is 2019 in December, y'all, before y'all talk about super spreaders and stuff. So there was no conversation about this at all in the United States.
No,
But
no, no,
all
no,
we
no, no,
knew
no.
is that
There was some conversation. There was some. There was a little bit. It
layman
just hadn't
people
really.
were not getting the verbiage and or hey, there's something going on overseas, maybe we should. Nobody was getting that. We just recognized that by Christmas Day almost an entire house of people, like a family and extended family,
Jacked.
were like crawling up the stairs to breakfast and nobody could figure out why. And so everybody was just like, is this the flu? Like that's what we just started
No.
calling it.
So we do have to say this. We do have to mention because people are going to be like, "Oh no, that's made up." There were people that were at um, within our space and that we interacted with that had just come from out of the country.
Correct.
So that was one thing. And then there were people, there were travelers. I don't, you know,
There were travelers.
it
We
was,
were
it was
travelers.
there were travelers, and we were all in downtown area, DC, and I mean, just
All
really interacting
barefaced.
with oh, Fairfax,
All open and barefaced in
Fairfax.
places. Like that joint was there. It was there.
It was
But I
there.
think
It
the
was there.
issue was is that the misunderstanding, like everybody was confused. And
Mhm.
then by the time we came home, and there were still all the like everybody was sick. I think the only person that did not get sick, and it was only through grace because we needed at least one person to be able to take care of everybody was my husband. That was it. Everybody else was down for the count. The kids recovered faster
Mhm.
um, than I did. And I was shocked
Mhm.
because usually I'm the one that does the upturn faster than everybody else. And I remember waking up one night and it was just like, this isn't like, why do I feel like an elephant is on my chest? Like I did not
Yeah,
understand
this
how I was
wasn't.
feeling. And then it finally went away. Whereas like we had with our dad and hashtag bonus mom,
Mhm.
she lost her taste and smell. Like so we lived that day. That thing is
Right.
brutal, man. So
Yeah.
having experienced it, and I think maybe that's the difference for some people is that when you go through it and you watch the people that's actually what kind of pushed me over the edge. It wasn't me. Because if with me, I would be one of those dumb people be like, I mean, I survived it. But
Mhm.
to watch the kids go through it, I was like, no, that's not. It's just a
Yeah.
terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. And so I'm just like, no, I'm pick which arm. Let's do it. Let's do what we got to do to
Yeah,
make it.
I think it's important to get the vaccination, especially to prevent, of course, you from getting sick. Anybody with high risk from getting sick. And now that being said, they're still looking at just how effective it is as far as transmission, but getting the vaccine itself is really important.
And yet, and this is not, isn't it funny? We just came into this show to make fun of you and quarantining and isolation. We weren't coming in to encourage
It
anybody.
was that what we were supposed to do? Make fun of
Oh,
me?
that's why I came into this, because I was coming to make fun of the fact that you still look like you are ready to scratch your way out of that room. And that's hilarious.
I know, it is. That's how I feel internally.
What's our seed of substance today?
Good night. Don't wait too long to talk about the elephant in the room.
Oh,
you know,
that's a
maybe
good
this is-
one.
But let me just say this really quickly because we're about to get off. But I think it's important, not just about COVID, but any medical elephant in the room. We need to talk more about it, especially people that have more melanocytes. We need to talk about it. Don't just, look at it and say, well, it needs to be discussed. Don't just
Say the
assume that
word.
because you have high blood pressure, well, I was supposed to because my mom had it. Just talk about it. Talk about it. There are symptoms, there are syndromes, there are chronic illnesses, genetic predispositions that people have that they won't even know about because Big Mama's not going to talk about it while she's frying eggs. So, can we talk about the elephant in the room, no matter what the elephant is?
Listen, we could have an elephant for every single episode if we're being real about what's next week's elephant is what I'm saying. Because yes, that's true. Talk about it, you guys. Don't, because honestly, what's so funny is that I'm just now telling people that I went through that whole COVID thing.
A year later. And the other thing is, it's interesting if people don't talk about their experience with COVID, if they did have it, they would recognize that everybody's experience, everybody's symptoms are completely different. So it was funny because there was a person who said they had some symptoms, but they were like, yeah, but I could still taste my food. And I was just like, that doesn't mean you don't have COVID. Like, you don't like
I can still eat though, girl. Be like, no, that's not.
Like those are there are multiple symptoms, but you don't have to have all 10. You can have
that's like you
10.
saying, well, I didn't have morning sickness, so that don't mean I'm pregnant. I'm like, nope, that's not what I mean.
Right.
You can still be pregnant.
I missed my period, but no morning sickness. Unprotected sex, but no morning sickness. Okay.
Today. Good job. You'll be fine.
Where's our banners? You need to just leave the banners. I think you should just leave the banners on. I like it. I like the contrast. I like the contrast of the gray and the purple, red, and whatever color that is.
Maybe for the next episode, I will leave it up.
Might as well.
We'll just see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, you guys. We'll see what happens.
The Academy Award.
Bye, girl.
All right, girl. Bye.
Let me find out, though, later on, after I have done a Whole Foods Sprouts run, made sure that you could eat everything on my table, my kitchen table. Let me find out later on that you don't have the allergy to that food per se. You just have a preference. Not only you're selfish, but you're not invited over to my house again.